welcome.
Hello, hello for another live.
Yeah. So this live is around one of the most asked questions we have around how to stop yelling at children, because that can happen.
It
happens to all mothers.
Yeah, it does happen to all mothers.
Yeah, and there's so many different ways we can answer this question, and today we're going to bring just one little piece in. But before we do, we really want to invite you to our free workshop that we have this Saturday or Friday in Europe and North America, Saturday in Australia. This workshop is called Reclaim Yourself in Motherhood and Parent from Your Truth. And it is also incredibly applicable for this topic around yelling, because everything starts within. And this is very much about the inner work of parenting, and then bringing that from being really connected with yourself and doing your own healing, your own self-awareness, bringing that out into your family and using that to kind of work with a situation that's challenging for you.
Absolutely. And we do that in the workshop. Everyone's bringing their own situation, any experience, anything within the realms of motherhood that they want to bring to it. There's a full guided process. We're going to give you heaps of tools. You're going to get to experience them in the workshop. It's really cool. And the workshop's free. I don't know if you mentioned that.
Yeah, I don't know if I did. It is, and there'll be a replay as well. We've had a lot of people saying, I can't make it at that time, and we work with mothers who sometimes it's totally not applicable. Yeah, so there will be a replay for a limited time. So register even if you think you can't make that time. It will be amazing.
It will be. Okay, so let's talk about the topic today. Yelling. How to stop yelling. We get it. Stop losing your cool, stop yelling. So, as Kaya said, there's lots of pieces in this, and in an effort to keep this a short, timely live that you can actually watch.
We could make a whole entire course on this.
We could actually, yeah, that's true. I was going to say class, but course probably, yeah. It's a big topic. So we're going to give you some really key pieces today that you can start exploring. And one takeaway, practice. And if you don't want to practice this, look at yesterday's video, because we talked about how it's an incredibly powerful tool for creating new healthy habits. And it's on the timeline yesterday. That was what we talked about. We're actually going to give you a way that you can start practicing and implementing this so that it's not just theoretical, because we're all about it being enacted, embodied, lived, integrated into the day, and not just theoretical. Okay, so... three pieces, I think.
Yep. So
let's start with the emotional piece first. There's a whole video on the timeline around the emotional piece, but today, if you're only watching the short live, we'll give you a little bit of it. The first thing, if you have a lot of unresolved emotional stuff that you're pushing down, that you're not even willing to acknowledge, or you don't want to feel that, and I'm just going to ignore it, and I can't bring that, that's not cool, or whatever it is, then that sits within you, creating dams and blocks in your energy, and becomes a bit of a pressure cooker.
And it creates the yelling. It comes out as yelling. Yeah. Or other kinds of intense emotional expression.
Yeah, so you'll have a trigger on the top, and you'll have the words that come out, and the fuel that's going to drive a lot of that is that emotional stuff that you've pushed down. Is kind of like the fuel that depends how explosive it's going to come out. So, in a video on our timeline, we talk about this emotional. Hey, Vicky, nice to see you this morning, sweet girl. On our timeline, in a video a day or two ago, we talk about this in depth, the emotional piece. Which video was it? Do we know? Do we call it something that would make sense?
I forgot what we called it.
Go look on the timeline. We're doing the most ridiculous amount of lives. We're just teaching every day we're teaching. So, in short, in brief, if you're into this, then go look at the timeline, because we did a whole, I think it was like 20 minutes teaching on this topic. But really, in the moment, you want to be able to connect at least a bit to your emotion. Rather than shove them straight down, connect to it and acknowledge it. Just allow yourself to feel and acknowledge. Hi, everyone joining. Allow yourself to feel and acknowledge. You don't have to process and do a big thing in the moment. You don't have to go there. But you can't ignore the emotions and shove them down, because you're just providing fuel for an outburst.
And connected to acknowledging them is remembering the truth that they are valid. that your emotion matters.
Yeah.
And it's not something to be discounted. It's not something that as a mother, as a gentle, compassionate mother, I should just completely ignore, or it doesn't have a space here. Like, your emotions matter.
Absolutely. In fact, being in touch with what you're emotionally feeling and what you're needing, which we're going to talk about in a minute, is actually a key piece in showing up as the mother you actually want to show up as. It creates a sense of anchoring, of congruency. You cannot communicate and have it really land if you're not connected to yourself. You can't lead in any capacity without that anchor within yourself of what's moving within you, what's going on. So it's actually a really core piece in the way you want to be parenting. Not to mention all the self-love issues and all the modelling you're doing to your children that emotions are valid and all those other pieces. But even if you take those away, it will actually support you in parenting the way you want to parent if you're willing to acknowledge your feelings and your needs as valid and important. Okay, it will support the way you move through the day big time.
Yeah, and the thing is, they will continue to be there. Like, when you're losing it and you're unconsciously reacting and you're yelling at your children, it is the feelings and the needs that are running the show and that are speaking. But they're speaking from a place of, I'm not being listened to, like, by you, by anybody else. And they're just like, they're running rampant. But and often, especially even more so when you're like not in a place of congruency and you're kind of like, oh, I'm being a bad mum and I'm yelling and I'm not acknowledging my needs and it's all kind of going haywire. But when you acknowledge your feelings and acknowledge your needs as important, as valid, as a very integral aspect of the whole relational dynamic that's going on,
it's there.
Then they're still there, but they're coming through you in a powerful and clear and self-loving and also compassionate way with your child. They're coming through in a clean way.
Yeah.
Because they'll come through anyway.
They will. They will come through. You will bring your stuff into the situation, whether you want to acknowledge it or not, whether you try not to or not. You've probably all experienced this. I'm not saying anything earth-shattering here. Okay, so you also want to stop yelling. Kaya touched on this, is often because we're not feeling congruent in ourselves. There's all sorts of stuff going on. Again, that congruency is created by getting clear on your self-connection first. And that doesn't actually have to take a lot of time. You can do this in just a couple moments. Just tune in. What am I feeling and what am I needing? And this is actually the core practice that we would really invite you to look at if you're struggling with your yelling. First of all, go within. What am I feeling and what am I needing? And if you can't totally articulate what you're feeling, like there's not quite words for it, that's okay. Just feel it for a moment and acknowledge it. Right, okay, this is what I'm feeling. Then from there, what am I really needing here? What is my need that's driving my behavior right now? And so do that internal piece. That will set you up congruently. That will help you anchor and ground and come into your power. And you use that same question, what am I feeling and what am I needing, as your relational tool outwards as well. So your children can receive that when you speak from the I and you use that sentence, I'm feeling really frustrated and I'm needing to feel heard right now. It's like just one example off the top of my head. There could be millions that you could say. Yeah. I'm feeling and I'm needing.
And
go, no.
It's really empowering to, with the needs, to come back to the needs that are like internal, that are within you. So if when you kind of tune in, you're like, oh, I'm feeling pissed off because I need them to shut up. then that's not the best thing to share. And it's also not, it's not really an empowered need that's within you. It's more you wanting to control the environment around you. But underneath it, there is a valid need. So just asking yourself, like, when they do shut up, what does that give me? And just keep tuning in, like, what does that give me, until you get to a need that is a need within you, a need that is yours, that you have control over, and that you can ask someone in a way that doesn't have them bring their defences up. And
yeah, you don't want to put anyone into defence because you're not going to get the solution you want from that space.
Yeah.
So with Kaya's example, I really need them to shut up. What do you need under that? Do you need space? Do you need cooperation? Do you...
Respect,
yeah,
gentleness.
Okay, share that. Our children are, even our young children, like 3, I don't know, younger than that? I don't know, certainly 3.
I think at any age, even when they can't talk,
we can start this, yeah. But I have had experience with my kids from a very young age where they have really heard that. Oh, that's what she needs right now. That's so different to, you need to do this, and you need to do that, and you're driving me nuts. And they're really willing to step up and do that for you. Big time. So you really are in a position there where your children get to embody and live empathy, and they get to see what emotional intelligence looks like. Oh, look, wow, this is how it's done. This is what I'm feeling, and this is what I'm needing. And it won't be too long, like, into their lives before they start to adopt that. You know, my youngest, probably even from 6 or 7, would start to say, I'm feeling really frustrated and I need this to blah, 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 you know, whatever. But he would start using that terminology. So it's multi-purpose, relationally outwards. But all of these tools are awesome ways to start reworking the way you're handling losing your cool. Not beating yourself up, not blaming and guilting on yourself. Look at what's going on underneath within you. Come back within, because that is where all your power lies, and that is where all the answers are too.
And that is where, because when you're yelling, there's a part of you that is screaming to be heard and to get a voice and to have needs met. So when you tune into what's going on for you, to what you're feeling and needing, and then share that part of you can quieten down, because it's heard, it's acknowledged, it knows that it matters. So you're giving yourself empathy and then sharing that with your children in a way where they can actually give you empathy too. They can hear you.
Yeah. But if you want to power charge that and take it way beyond yelling, that what am I feeling, what am I needing? Ask yourself that several times a day and bring your needs into the day. Bring them in. This actually will lead you right into self-care. Naturally, we call it in the moment self-care, and it's a whole model that we teach. I don't digress, but like, ask yourself more often and bring your needs into the day. They won't always, often they're small, they're so small.
And so often just acknowledging them is 90% of it.
That's true. That's true. We've done this with women who've just had their 2nd or 3rd baby and they're like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to get any self-care in. That question is so powerful for them. And often they say, it was amazing. What I needed was a drink of water, or I needed to go and sit in the sun, or I needed to put on music that I actually like listening to and turn off Sesame Street or whatever it was. They're things that you can actually achieve. And you're sending yourself a really strong message. And that's probably a proactive way to also chill out on the losing your cool.
Oh, it so is. The first time I had this profound experience with that, when I really decided a fair few years ago that I would put a timer on my phone for every single hour, or I'd have an alarm go off, and every time it went off, I would ask myself, I'd stop, breathe, ask myself, what am I feeling? And given that, what am I needing? And it was a day with my children at home, single mum, little children, lots of food prep, messy house, them sometimes having conflict with each other, and every time I stopped and asked that question, it completely changed the course of the next little while. And because I did it so consistently, it completely changed the course of that day. Like, I remember once I was sitting at the stove making food and my children were making lots of noise and the alarm went off, and I tuned in and I realised I was feeling a bit frazzled and kind of at that point before where I might start freaking out and losing it, and tuning into what I needed. And I can't even remember exactly what I needed, but it was something that maybe there was some kind of internal need, and then there was a need of often get a glass of water or something that kind of physically helps me, and it completely shifted the way that I showed up. I didn't actually yell that whole day.
Yeah. So that every hour is what we call an immersion day, and we do that with clients periodically. We text them every hour for that one period of that one day when they're doing their immersion. And it's always an amazing experience, isn't it? They're like, oh my God. Okay, we're going to try and keep it short today, so unless you've got questions, I think we should wrap that up.
Yes.
We're desperately trying to get a short live. It's weird.
We haven't managed to get under 20 minutes. Now we will.
That's our hope. So much love to you all, and we'll talk to you soon because we've got all this teaching coming up. And Saturday, we would
Join us on Saturday.
love to see you come and hang out with us and really dive deep into a lot of these tools, like in a really guided, experiential way. We'd love it. Okay.
Bye-bye.